Spanish version of Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
Yes, he's Italian.
Tonight. Yes, I can, and it hurts in 3 different places.
Que tanto.
That camera is not a movie camera. It's a shooty camera.
It's just a shooty. Booty.
A shooty in the booty.
And that's how kids happen.
Okay.
Right? Shooty in the
I
booty?
think moving forward, we should all 3 sit on the same couch.
On that one.
Is that camera on?
Are you fucking with me? I just checked twice. There's no light. There's never been a light. Can you put your
That was
chest into
weak.
it?
That was fucking weak.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Almost Intelligent. I'm Patrick. This is Brad. That's Evan. And today, our topic is
Parenting.
parenting. Something Brad knows a lot about.
Oh, so much. I'm well versed.
All right. Well, you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, you did.
What do I want to
No, yeah,
contribute?
No. You wanted to talk about it, so you get to open
But
it.
wait,
Oh.
we have a surprise. We have your parents. Come on in. No, I'm kidding.
Come on in, Mom and Dad. Well, Mom, Dad.
Other mom and dad.
Yeah, so my views on parenting.
what made you want to pick this as a topic to discuss on the podcast?
Talk about it.
Because it's a topic that I am not familiar with because I'm not a parent. But at the same time, it's intriguing to me because I don't know, I can't perceive that connection between a child and a person. Like, I never really had that definite connection with any of my family because it was just, mom was around, but she wasn't really a good parent. Dad really wasn't around. My grandparents were they raised me and they were very transparent about about not being my actual parents,
They were
about being my
apparently
grandparents.
transparent.
Dad jokes for days. But yeah, so, and being around you guys and your different situations, like when I first met P and I'd come over to his house and I'd be like, oh man,
I don't want to
kids.
go there anymore.
Yeah,
Kids.
that's how I feel every day.
And
Yeah.
over a very short period of time, I've come to really admire your parenting skills. I think you've done really well. Your kids are really awesome.
You give them the perfect amount of Xanax to keep them
Yeah,
at bay.
yeah.
throughout
The
the day.
melatonin at night really puts them down.
Middle of
and
the
that's
day.
perfect.
Evening NyQuil, morning NyQuil.
But yeah, and they seem to be relatively respectful for their age.
To everybody but me.
And and then I've met your kids,
Once.
Me too.
and yeah, the dynamic's different, but I can still see the connection, that inherent love that your kids have for you as a parent.
Well, I think that speaks volumes to the parent that he is because, to be honest, when we linked up, he was a very young parent when we first met each other many moons ago. And I truly, every time someone compliments me and says I'm a good parent, I always, in my mind, give a little fucking telepathic dap to Evan because when I became a parent, I based my parenting on him and the way he parented. Now it's evolved to something much, much better.
I was waiting for it.
But no. All jokes aside, that love that you see his kids have for him is because of the unconditional love he's shown them their entire existence.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, it's weird to hear that. The topic is it's a phenomenal topic because it's something I could talk about, for eons.
Because you have lots of kids and lots of babies.
So many of them, and then the ones that I don't know about.
Yeah.
And you weren't in the military?
It was an odd thing to be 20 years old and to be like, okay, well, you're now going to be in charge of this little human being. And I
Not to cut you off, but just to kind of set the timeline. Your first child, 20.
yeah.
Your first child.
26.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So Gio was my oldest son, Gio. He was born, his mom got pregnant with him when I was 20, and then he was born when I was
How did it
21.
happen? The pregnant, like what
It's a
position?
beautiful, beautiful candles.
Missionary.
Right.
Ludacris in the background.
Which song?
What's Your Fantasy? It was playing
Right.
on repeat.
Of course.
Not for the session. It was really just to get the mood started, and then it was like the first 30 seconds.
She sounds like a classy broad.
Yeah, it was great. And not ready to just not ready for life. And
Right.
For yourself.
Still
Yeah.
kind of figuring out yourself.
and it for me, and you know, I'm sure a lot of people would say the same thing. It was just the thing that I needed. Like, it was the responsibility, it was the awakening that I needed at that time. But what most people probably won't admit to is that unfortunately we become accustomed to anything. Like, I needed the wake up call to be responsible for this person, but then you get used to it, and then that kind of dissipates, and then within the 2-3 years I made a lot of bad decisions. I did a lot of stupid shit. I didn't take the responsibility that I needed to take. I got into some trouble, and his mom was like, look, if you don't do better, and I owe his mom this so much, she was like, if you don't do better, you're not going to see him anymore. And not in a way of like, I'm holding this over your head, none of that. It was just like, do right, be a dad, or don't. And like, that scared the hell out of me. But it has been this continuous learning of like, not just how to be a parent, but how to be just a better human being. Because most of the stuff that I do, at least, it's not intentional. Like, I'm not thinking like, this is the thing that I'm going to be as a dad. It's just, this is the example that I need to set. And then my youngest being born, when I was 28, I never thought I was going to have another kid. And then he was born, and it's a totally different experience. Like, profoundly different experience. But I think, again, what you were saying to set the stage, we do a show at your house, P, and you have a beautiful family. You have a wonderful dynamic of kids that are genuinely loving, engaged, thoughtful, terrible little tyrants. Mm-hmm. But they are amazing little people. And I would kind of like to understand a little bit better about your, like, that experience, because I've had it twice, where like the first one I was young, didn't know what was going on. I was older when my second was born, but a little bit more, at least, mature and experienced. Still a lot of stupid things that I was doing, but it was a different experience at that time because it was such a large difference. But your kids are a little bit closer in age. Well, what has that been like for you?
I'm sorry, you're talking to me. I'm just joking.
Welcome to the podcast. My name's Evan. This is Brad.
I zoned out. I don't know. It was cool.
It was fun. Yeah, it was cool.
It was all right.
Well, it's interesting because my wife, we've been on, life's a fucking adventure, but a journey just with bringing children into this world. We have 4. The first one we had at a hospital, the local hospital, and she got an epidural that time, very close to not needing it. Like, she was like, baby was ready to come, and she just gave in, folded, and got an epidural, and then she ended up taking painkillers after, and she didn't feel like herself like the first couple days of being a mother. So she said to me, it's still in the hospital before we went home, like, and that was the other thing, like, we couldn't go home, like, we had to stay there. We were like, she's better, the baby's ready, like, we want to go home now. And they kept us for a couple of days, and she was in a haze from like the Percocet, whatever the painkiller was after the epidural and the birth. And so she said, I don't ever want to do any of that again. She's like, I want to have more kids, but I want to do it all natural, as natural as we possibly can. So the second time, we went back to the same hospital. When we pulled up, she was he was already coming. Like, and my dumb ass, instead of pulling up in the front and being like, oh, we got an emergency, I parked like in the furthest farthest all the way.
You gotta walk it out.
She walked. Yeah, I'll never live that down. And so we get in, like they rush us up to the
Like the head's already out, and she's just walking through the
Dude,
doors.
that's what it was. And so they put us up in a room where babies are born, and they just put us in there, and like it's obvious the baby's
Sounds
gonna,
like babies were born in the parking lot of the
Well,
hospital.
they almost were. And so I'm like, excuse me, everybody. I'm all polite. I'm like, oh, I think my
Where's the
wife,
baby?
Yeah, I think my wife needs you. And like, okay, we'll be in a little bit. And then and her best friend was like her doula, like help with the baby. She was her doula, and she helped bring she was there for Emily during the labor, and she was like, you need to go tell them that she feels like she's about to shit. And I was like, I don't know anything about this. They were like little experts that have read up on it. So I'm like, all right. So I walk up, I was like, excuse me, my wife's about to have a baby, so she feels like she needs to poop. And all of a sudden, all these fucking old ladies, young ladies, nurses, all these nurses are like, I could see the energy, I could feel it in the fuck, like someone switched, the energy changes, and they're like 4 of them are in the room, they're calling the doctor, and I'm like, I was like, I didn't know that was the magic word. Like,
Who acts like this when I gotta poop?
no one even cared.
Look at all these people coming to wipe butts.
So we go through that one, and I can elaborate on that, but we go through that one, and the next one, we were like, well, no, I should elaborate. So what happened, so when he was born, the second one, he didn't cry at first, and it was very awkward. They called an EMS guy in the room, and he came in, he's watching the doctor all quietly, he's nervous, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? Is everything all right? And he keeps looking at me and not answering, and looking at me in a panic, like a visual panic.
Yeah.
And so I'm fucking freaking out, but I know my wife needs me to be strong, and then all of a sudden he starts crying, and the dude hits me in the back and that's what we were waiting to hear. That's what we need to hear. And I'm like, ooh, all right, dude. What the fuck just happened? So then she did that all natural, no epidural, no anything, and she got to be mom that night, remembered everything, loved everything about it. Then the next time we went to a birthing center, which is like a place just where babies are born, not a hospital. It's just strictly they deliver babies, and that was an interesting experience because the owner of the place, the woman that delivered my daughter, I have 3 boys and 1 daughter. The daughter's the third. She, that very night, right before getting the call from us that Emily was in labor, got a call that her mom had just passed away.
Oh no, shit.
That night. So it was a very surreal
At the
experience.
birthing center?
Yeah. It was a very surreal, she was trying to get her other girls to come in. No one could come in. Excuse me. So she's there you could tell.
She wasn't all the way there.
Yeah.
Her mom died.
Yeah. But I guess her mom had been sick, so it wasn't like
You told her fuck you, you're gonna be there. I need my baby.
No,
to be born.
she didn't even
be there.
There was never an excuse. There was none of that. She just showed up, and you could tell it was a woman that looked halfway broken. in the
Distressed,
moment.
yeah.
Yeah. And so
So you guys were excited, energized about that.
it was
That
an
good.
awkward experience, and the 2 older brothers were there in the room across they had 2 different birthing rooms. The other room was empty, so they just hung out in there while Emily delivered, and it was just I remember her talking about death and life. She's like, I'd rather be here. I'm bringing life into the world. It's what my mom wanted. And it was just, and Emily loved that experience, but she's a fucking psychopath. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So, the 4th baby we had at our house, not this house, the prior house, and the prior home we owned.
In the house.
In the house, in a pool. Well,
In the house.
it was supposed to be in the pool, but the way it turned out, it ended up being born right on the other side of the pool because by the time it was time to push, she was outside the pool. It was wild. But that was awesome. In the last 3 births, she did all natural. For the final one, the 4th one, all the 3 older siblings were we were all around her while she delivered.
That's gross.
It was an experience, but
despicable.
I forgot it happened until I forget who it was. I think it was Keen when we were fishing said something about I was near my mom gave birth, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Is that a cultural thing for you
That's
guys?
okay. I guess I don't know what the fuck it is.
Don't ask me.
Again,
I don't know.
because my wife's a psychopath, but also a badass. So 3 natural births, and I don't know. You learn a lot about life, and it's fucking just the way of things. Dude,
No need for C-sections or
Nope,
anything
nope.
like that.
You guys aren't in that house anymore.
Nope.
That's the old house. So, if someone kills themselves in a house, you have to report it when you sell it. Do you have to do that when you guys decide to push a baby out in it?
Nope. No.
The new
So you
owners
don't have
know.
to explain the placenta laying out by the pool and.
I hit
Did
it.
you guys eat it?
No.
It's in the freezer now.
It probably is part of it. She took pills afterward because I think it helps. powdered it up and put it in pills. So I think it helps you heal.
Cocaine?
Eating your own
Placenta.
Yeah.
I just fucking.
There's a lot of nutrients from
But
what I read.
Jackson like literally not dissected, that's not the right word, but was like looking at it with the lady that delivered. Yeah, it was wild. And he was like all into it.
Maybe they'll be like doctors or something.
OBGYN.
Or scarred for life. I mean, one of the two are possible.
Or both.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
So yeah, and just going back to that first birth, I will never forget the moment, and it sounds so fucking cliche, but I will never forget the moment they put all of them, but my firstborn son in my hands, and was like, "Are you ready to hold him, Daddy?" And I like that's like one of those moments. Like when you hit the deer recently in my van where everything was slow motion. It was like, ooh.
That deer hit us. You were there.
They collided. But
Plymouth Rock landed on.
Yeah.
but it was like a moment. It's like out of it's so cliche. It sounds like a movie, but it was like, and I was like, all right. I didn't know exactly what I had to do then, but I knew I had to change my ways and do as right as I possibly could from that moment on because, again, sounding cliche, but I knew that it wasn't about me anymore. It was about this little motherfucker and the love you feel. Like there's no word. It's a fucking weird thing. I mean, I don't know I'm sure you experienced that. Any parent, but it's like, holy fuck, man. And at 26, it's older than 20, but I still was like...
You're still a kid, man.
Yeah, I'm still... And me, I was immature and still fucking up and making so many poor decisions. And it was like, I just knew... And it wasn't like that. It wasn't something that happened overnight where I was like, all right, I got my shit together. But I knew in that moment, I always go back to that, I was like, I really fucking changed that day. Or something fucking kicked me into a gear that I didn't know I had that to make me a better man.
I mean, I'm really fortunate. My father left when I was young, but my uncle stepped in to be like my father for the majority of my teenage years, and then when I was
So you could be closer to your mom.
Correct. and so I had the opportunity to hear a lot from Uncle. My uncle's a very insightful person, and I'll never forget. I was working with him when I got the phone call that Gia's mom was pregnant, and my uncle is a very jovial person. He makes fun of just like everything, and so I mean I remember getting the phone call, and it was like in the 90s when you turn the TV off and like the thing goes whoop, and then there's a little line.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened when I heard, because I'm like working for a cleaning company, making like no money.
Is that line, does that mean pregnancy
death.
positive?
I'm dying.
Oh.
Everything's
Yeah.
done.
Like peeing on a
Everything's
stick.
done. Yeah.
Pregnant?
It's
No.
just no more functioning penis. And I go and tell him, and he laughs. And he goes, because he had been joking with me about being careful because I was going to end up getting a girl pregnant. Ta-da! And
Told you.
But he is a very insightful person. So after we did this whole thing, I was working with him at the time, and so throughout the process of her being pregnant, he's talking to me, and I remember he asked me one day. He said, "Do you love your son?" Before he was born, and it was such a weird question to be asked. Intellectually I was like, well, yeah, but then I was thinking about it. And it really fucked me up. And he was like, I want you to think about something and always think about this. He said, you don't have any understanding of what that little human being is yet. And when it happens, when you see him, everything about your understanding of love will change.
Everything, yeah.
He's like, but his mom does love him. She's ahead of you. She'll always be ahead of you. His mom and him have a relationship that you're never going to be able to reach.
What a fucked up thing to say.
But it was...
Just fuck them both.
For me, it was a very inspirational thing that I have this daily accrual of loving him more. Every day. Because the way that he was giving it to me... Right. Was like... It's the days, it's the moments that you have with this person, it's the memories that you're building. And so it was from the day that I saw him, and I do remember that slow motion moment when he was born. And it was funny because originally his name was a totally different name. His mother and I had talked about his name for the whole time that she was pregnant. We were, this is the name, this is the name. And it was like the nurse brought him back to us, handed him to me, and I'm holding him and looking at her. And I don't even remember fully how we agreed on the new name, but it wasn't anything like
What you started with.
this original name. And it was just this moment of just pure existing in that little space, that being present for him. And there's nothing more beautiful, but I do feel that every day is an opportunity for me to cultivate more of my love for my son. It just continues to grow.
I would agree with that. It's kind of crazy how it happens, because even after I just said that about the day they put Jackson in my arms, I just talked to him. He's at camp right now in a different state, and I just talked to him, and I could hear him smiling, and like, I love him more today than I've ever loved him since fucking him.
Yeah.
And I've loved him more than anything the entire fucking time. That goes
Yeah.
for all four of them. I love them so fucking much. It doesn't even make sense to me. But I also want to murder them, like, often.
I mean, I often say that I owe my children. Like, my youngest son woke me up. Like, he woke me up to what life is about. I didn't understand love or family or the relationship, the value of a relationship, until I met him. And then my youngest son reminded me of how important that was. Like, those have been the two big events in my life. And again, unfortunately, as humans, as we get away from these experiences, conversations like this are extremely valuable, because as we get away from the experience and we're not thinking about it and we're not having dialogue about it, it's not that they become less important, they just become less relevant because you're not thinking about them and putting the energy into them.
Right.
But I really do feel that for both of my children, and when I see them, I'm constantly reminded of that.
Right.
And, you know, for me, individually, with all of my own issues and you know, just my own way of thinking, it is my children that realign me, that refocus me, that recenter me, that give me that purpose, that ground me. And I couldn't imagine my existence without them. Of course, it's impossible to, because that doesn't exist. I've only had them. But yeah, it's a wonderful thing that I'm also always worried that I'm going to drop, that I'm going to fuck
Right.
up.
But even that keeps you honest.
Yeah.
Like, it keeps you...
So that opens up two questions in my mind, which are two different paths, but one being, and both of you have totally different ways of approaching relationships with other people, but like, do you think that level of love exists for someone that is not
Your child?
your child?
I love Emily like that. I mean, I've always loved my parents.
Did you realize it
I think.
to that magnitude before
Nah,
kids?
Maybe not. Honestly, maybe not. But this day right now, as we sit here, I fucking know that shit.
So I will say,
And I love my parents and my sister, but I've always loved them.
I think it is I think that love is a bit nebulous. I think that the emotional
Ian paused
tie,
this to look up nebulous.
the emotional tie that I have with my children is unique to them in the way that we've developed it, but they've taught me that that love is possible with others and that it's important for others, because it is a selfish, for me, and I think that all persons, love is selfish because it gives you purpose. It gives you a thing to feel like you're accomplishing, that you're working towards. And so that selfishness actually provokes me to become selfless for others. I can give that same love to a stranger in an odd way. If I am in a situation where, for example, when I met you, the reason that I was able to become friends with you quickly and be like have care for you and be concerned about you and your well-being is because I love P. Because the relationship that we've developed, that happened because I knew what love was with my son, and that was an okay thing, and it wasn't dangerous, and it was the right thing. That's why I was able to build it in a friendship. And then that friendship then transferred to you. So yes, it is never going to be the same from one person to the other. I love my children in different ways for different reasons because they gave me time. They introduced me to love at different times, but it is still love. And so I think it's transferable amongst any persons. It doesn't have to be a blood relative. It doesn't have to be a child, because love is selfish. It's the selfish desire to ensure that I'm in my best place to be able to help you be in your best place.
Do you think love is gay?
Yes,
No, you think
for the two of you.
gay is love?
Yep.
Okay.
Glove.
All right.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go down that road with you, Pete.
Not
Sorry.
Is it a race thing?
Yeah.
I usually forget, that I'm not like you guys. And then you guys always bring it up. I don't understand why you guys do that.
I haven't said anything about it in
10 minutes?
I mean, we started about 25 minutes ago, so right before the podcast.
so, but no one would have known on this episode if you didn't bring it up.
So kind of veering down a different track.
You want to adopt some kids?
No.
Because you can have all of ours.
Yeah.
We don't.
I've all but adopted your kids.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and no, but so, and this is probably where the topic gets kind of controversial. How do you deal with reprimand or discipline amongst something that you have so much love for?
Not well.
Well, my kids are white, so if I put my hands on them, I'm going to jail.
Yeah, and my kids just live a lawless existence because we love them so much.
A lawless existence. I mean, that is taking out the societal norms at where we're at. It is very much impacted, I think, from, for me, at least my childhood. And I, fortunately, because of not having my father in my life, I wasn't subject to violence and that kind of stuff after he left.
Right.
And so that wasn't something that I immediately would jump to, but I had enough of it in my memory that wasn't good. That was
Right.
the thing not to do. And so, one thing that my dad did teach me and that he was really good about was we're going to sit down and I'm going to inform you about why you fucked up. When he was there, he would whoop my ass, and then he would sit down with me for an hour and tell me about how all these things have these effects and all that. And so I just think communication is fucking incredibly important. Anything that I do to my children physically, the world will do to them a billion times worse if I don't give them the tools to get them prepped for that. And so...
Right.
I believe that in the moments of great chaos and in the moments of destruction and damage is the perfect time to get a person to rebuild in a new foundation. And so when a kid does something bad, in the same way that when I do something stupid or bad, if I have someone around me that loves me, my hope is that they will get me to a place of consolation to be able to hear what they have to tell me, to be able to build out of that. To build something new out of that. Now that isn't always functional because there's granular things that don't matter that much. We're not talking about extreme chaos.
Right.
But I don't ever feel the need to put my hands on my kids. And I also know that if I ever did that, I would put myself in a position where I felt did I do that out of anger? And that scares me.
Yeah.
If you put your hands on a kid because you're angry, you're far beyond discipline. And that's for me a place that I don't want to play with.
Right.
I think that I would never hit my kids. Well, no, I'll beat the shit out of my kids. I just no, my kids, it's the way I was raised. Sorry, fucking dog.
Yeah, it's nice.
No, I hate it. The way I was raised, there was a lot of yelling, not a lot of information about this is what you did wrong, this is why. It was more of my way, the highway, which my life would have been easier if I did shit my dad's way. But a lot of yelling, spankings, not abuse at all, but like they fucking hit me hard, and like there were belts and shoes and wooden spoons and all that shit. And I just, with all the trouble I got into, bad decisions I make, I was like, well, I know that didn't work.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like I don't know much, but I know that way.
those cards didn't play out well.
Yeah. So I have never hit my kids. I think I still yell too much. I try really hard to be conscious not to yell.
Chastise yourself every time they screw up.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, but they push buttons to a level that like it's absurd. But I'm very fortunate because they're very intelligent and they're, you know, I've told literally when my kids came out of my wife, I was whispering all their ears, question everything.
They do.
I think that's a good thing. But I also didn't realize the reality that would set in with them. Like literally, I'm like, "Go to your room." Like, why? Like, well, because you just said, "Go fuck yourself" to me, and you can't talk to me at you're 8 years old. So go to your room. And so there's a lot of defiance, but that's only here under this roof. Like they test their boundaries and they're finding themselves here, and it's a lot for I think me and their mother. But on the outside world, my kids know how to act right. Like even full disclosure, like in this house, we let them curse. Like I'm not gonna. The world is such a scary place and there's so many bad things for me to reprimand you or to be upset with you because of using language. Like, fuck that. Like, speak how you want to speak. Don't sound like an idiot. You know, I want them to be well read and I want them to be thinkers, but if you want to use colorful language, that's not the hill I'm going to die on as a parent. I think that's kind of ridiculous, but to each their own in that sense too when it comes to parenting. Some households are different, but when they go outside the house, they know without a doubt.
Oh, I mean, even in my interaction with your kids, and they've gotten more and more comfortable with me.
They sure have.
And they're still very respectful.
Yeah.
They still don't use that language.
And who knew? Maybe that's just nature. Like maybe me and their mother have nothing to do with that. But I believe that I think it's because I've never hid anything from them. I've never come down hard on them. But like Evan said, if they fuck up, we're gonna talk about it. Yeah. And I'm gonna talk to you like I would talk to you as a brother. I would say, yo, Brad, you're fucking up here, man. This is the reasons why. This is what you need to do. Yeah. You know, I would come to you. I would speak to my kids exactly how I would talk to anybody I love, even though they're little people. I'm trying to mold them to know how to navigate on this fucking rock and to hopefully be successful and just to be kind, thoughtful, good people. I feel like that's my mission in life is to do that.
I heard something recently that resonated with me a lot, and it was, are you raising your children to protect them from the world, or are you raising your children to prepare them for the world?
Yeah, that's real shit.
And it is a balance, right? Because I am very affectionate, and I'm a very I love my children so much, and I want to protect them
with
so
your
much.
OnlyFans page.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to hit my monthly goal. So please like and
But
subscribe.
if they can't protect themselves,
Easy E Brown Hole. Continue.
If you don't give them the tools and the mind to protect themselves, then you're really doing them a disservice because we can only protect even my wife. I protect her with my life, but ultimately, the older I get and the wiser I get, it's like, yo, you need to be able to protect yourself. Like I want to protect you, but if there was
but the reality of it is that I can't be there all the time. I can't physically be there all the time.
But you can mentally, physically, whatever it takes, prepare for whatever comes at you. And so I want to protect my kids, but I protect them I don't hide anything, and I don't think you do from your kids.
And it's
either.
not just physically. It is also very much so, especially in today's society. It is very much a mental game, like where your society paints this picture of what you need to be, what you have to be. And,
Just with my two kids, I see such a difference.
I gotta go stop the dog. You keep talking.
Daddy.
Oh wow.
Big Daddy P.
Does he know he's on camera?
He's gonna lay down, or I'm gonna take him back upstairs. I'm gonna pause it again. Lay down.
Oh,
lay
This
down,
is
dude.
great content for the blooper reel.
there we go. He's not laying though.
He's coming over to me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, big boy.
Now have kids, not pets. Go get someone pregnant, everybody.
Yeah.
Ew. I can take him outside. We take him.
Why would you let it do that to you?
All right, lay down.
You know what he does to pee at night?
Yeah. That's why I let him do it.
Monkey, lay down.
Trying to get a little aftertaste.
A little aftertaste from last night.
These are good. Take one
What's up,
bite.
big boy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that.
I'm so disappointed. I don't know if I've ever been disappointed.
He's really enjoying himself.
Yes, he
Bread's
is.
all in his butt.
The lipstick's coming out. It's all good.
Right on camera.
All right. You want me to take it back upstairs? This isn't working.
No, this is fine. This is great. No, for real, leave him. He's fine. He's fine.
All right.
He's good.
All right. So
Oh, look at him.
you were saying something about your kids.
This is weak sauce. This is what's important now.
This is, yeah.
Look.
This is what I have for kids
That's true.
at my house.
What do you
Because I have 2 dogs because I'm afraid to have actual children.
What kind of dogs?
I have a German Shepherd and
A real dog?
and a rescue mutt.
And a rescue mutt. Okay,
Yeah.
well that's good. You have real animals.
Yeah.
And you have them like it's a big house. You guys have them running around. Big animals in
they're,
a big
they're
house.
in a tiny house with me.
They're in a what?
Super tiny
A
house.
super tiny house.
Yeah.
Are you being like? Is that like a euphemism? Are
Oh
you,
no, it is 400 square feet of tiny house.
Is that your bedroom? The master bedroom?
No, that's everything. That's the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom,
So you live in jail. You live in a jail cell. Do you
I
shit
think that
right
would be
by
an,
the bed?
I think that would be an upgrade.
We'll
actually.
leave his address in the below
Yes.
the
So they
video.
can just stop by.
Comments.
Or they could
We could do a
Google-
street view.
Yeah,
Perfect.
There you go.
Perfect. And you got
Yeah.
2 animals.
2 dogs,
3.
And-
He has 3 animals.
my old lady and me.
You have 3?
The old lady.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Where do they sleep?
Well,
The dogs?
on the bed. The old lady on the floor.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where do you sleep?
On the bed.
You sleep in bed with dogs.
I sleep in the bed with one dog who refuses to sleep anywhere else, and the other dog sleeps on a dog bed in the house.
That was a very judgy. The dog refuses.
I have so many.
Oh yeah.
All the questions and statements that I have, although very funny, will just get us demonetized.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. All right, so back to being parents.
A dog parent.
No.
No?
That's it, no.
No, I mean, like, I don't know. For me, the way I grew up, I had, I guess, I kind of grew a fear of having my own kids because I didn't want them to be subject to what I was, and I knew that it had affected me negatively, and like I have some serious anger outbursts. I don't want that to be.
Do you?
I don't want to push that onto a kid. I've not experienced childbirth, so I don't know that, there's this crazy amount of unconditional love that light switch happens when you hold your child in your arms. And I'm not saying that happens for everybody because I don't believe that happens
No,
for
no,
everybody.
no, definitely,
And,
definitely not.
And you guys are very fortunate that is.
No doubt.
Agreed. Well said.
Or maybe
Very
not.
fortunate.
Maybe if I just didn't give a fuck, I could be out in Costa Rica surfing. Like, man, fuck them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what we're doing next
fine,
week.
bro.
Yeah, I know. That's my plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I developed a fear of the kind of parent that I would be, and that kind of led me down a path to rejecting the idea of having children. And now I'm at a point in my life that I'm also,
Old.
yeah,
It doesn't function anymore. down there.
just can't get
That's
it
fine.
up.
Blue
Can't
chew.
get it up.
Yeah.
Shooting blanks, all that stuff.
Yeah, sterile.
Do you find yourself when you see your kids?
My kids?
No, you. When you see your kids, do you see yourself in your children? Like in watching them in situations, for example, like when I watched Jackson play the oldest travel soccer for us this year, and I was never the most skilled soccer player. I was always very, very aggressive and like play with a chip on my shoulder. Like travel soccer is a whole different beast, and like so parents are all into it, and like so I would see parents yelling at him. And I used to be like, if a parent says something to me, I would look at the parent and I smile, or I get them all amped up, or I tackle their fucking son a little harder. And literally, I've never mentioned.
Wait. As an adult, that's what you're doing to the other parents?
Yeah.
As a kid, when I was in the game, I wanted to. But
We're all
without-
standing behind them with fucking
Full
guns.
No, but-
like, say something.
But we never talked about the way I played soccer, any of that at all. And this season, like instinctually, it was like watching it made me nervous because I got kicked out so many games, and my poor mom. I remember I could see her face so many times being mortified as I'm arguing or yelling. Like I'm a player, like 12 years old, fighting with parents on other teams, screaming at them or flicking them off or being ridiculous or punching kids on the field. And I saw Jackson, although he didn't do anything dirty, he got a couple yellow cards. He's the only one on the team all season that got him. But it was just watching. I was like, that's inherently me. There's definitely part of me in him and in his aneurysms, everything. It was fucking weird. It was almost like an out of body experience, multiple games, and I'm like, and it's not all good. Like, but I was talking about anger. I'm like, yeah, because I was angry and I see it in Jackson, and I think he's way better adjusted than I was at his age, but it's still there.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think another point of clarity, is you're married. All 4 of your children live with you. You are engaged in your kid's life every day. And I respect you and admire you for that in such incredible ways. That's not my situation. My oldest son has spent only part of his life, a very small part of his life. He is, he has been with me on weekends, every other weekend since he was 3. He's now about to be 14. Now he comes down for summers and these sorts of things. My youngest is with me a little bit more, but I'm very fortunate. Their mothers are wonderful mothers. They're in great care. I couldn't have been luckier to have had children with the persons that I had children with.
People.
And nature, nurture. There are certain things that I see from myself and my children, but in all honesty, and it sounds cliche, my kids are so much better than I could ever be. Like, my kids are light years beyond anything that they are what I aspire to be. My oldest, he is into sports. I never did sports. I was doing all the things that weren't sports when I was his age. And, he's not necessarily into school, but he's, he does it because he knows it's functional. And I see little glimpses of like certain little things every now and then, but they have become unabashedly themselves. And up to today's date, I don't see any of my negative shit on my kids. And, maybe I'm blind to some of it. Maybe I don't want to see it. I don't know, again, how much of that is because of time spent or whatever is passed through DNA. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, man, those fucking kids, they inspire the shit out of me. Like, they are just these little creatures that I just am so honored to be able to say that I'm their father, to be honest. Right. It's a wild experience.
It is. It's a trip.
It is.
I think you guys both do a phenomenal job. I've been around both your kids for not a huge amount of time, but enough to get to know them, and they're very respectful, very well behaved. I've been around a lot of kids. I help the local gym with occasionally with some classes, and I get put in the ring with a whole lot of kids. and
some of them are assholes.
Your kids really do stand out as.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Positive impact on society. So
I think a parent, like you both said, not everybody has that experience I talked about when the kids are placed in my arms, where it's like, like time stops for a moment. And I think, and maybe this is just me being fucking psychopath or crazy or overthinking shit, but I think in order to be a great parent, you need that moment. Like, I think in that moment you'll know whether or not, because there's.
You think if you don't have that moment, it's lost?
Yeah, I don't even know if that's it, and maybe it's just because it's speaking to my experience. But like, I think in that moment, like, because to be I aspire more than I've ever wanted anything to be a great parent, a great father, and I think if I didn't start in that moment, it would have never been good enough. And I know at least for myself, that I started in that moment because again, I was like, shit's got to be different. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I'm going to get to where I need to be, or at least, but like, I got to run this shit different now. And I will always go back to that moment. And I remember it so vividly. And I think that I think you could know in that moment if you're gonna be a good parent or not. But you probably know before that moment, even though you're not the mother with the connection. Like when we found out my wife was pregnant, we weren't married yet. We'd been together for a few years, and I'm sure we lived together the entire time. I'm sure we were gonna get married at some point, but we knew we got married before he was born, a few months before he was born, and I think in that moment I knew, come hell or high water, I was going to be the greatest. My goal, I want to be like the fucking MVP, like Jersey and the fucking Raptors dad when it's all said and done. And I don't know if I'm there, and I might not be, but I swear on everything inside our universe, I'm gonna try to be until there's not fucking breath in my lungs anymore to do so.
When your first little man was born, and it was you and your wife and him, did it just feel like it was just you guys, like just the three of you, like the whole world had just stopped and it was just the three of you, like almost like the three of you were on like an island? Do you still feel like you're on an island? Maybe like you're on like a what's it called?
Shutter Island?
Like a Shutter Island.